Welcome to the podcast Life After Addiction and Indictment. I'm your host, Steve Cloward, and I spent most of the last decade and well over $100,000 on coaches, consultants, masterminds, and events trying to figure out how to reclaim my life again. On this podcast, I'm going to share the tools, the tips, the tricks, and the hacks that allowed me to forgive myself so that I could reclaim my life again. I'll be interviewing experts in mindset, leadership, entrepreneurship, sales, marketing, branding, and so much more. I'm glad you're here. Sit back and relax and enjoy the show.
Let's go! This is Life After Addiction and Indictment.
Life After Addiction and Indictment. Today, folks, appreciate you taking out the time to listen. And today I'm excited. I've got an amazing woman who's got a great story and a lot of value that she's going to provide. And just want to welcome Carrie Schmidt to the show. Hey, Carrie, how are you today?
Good, Steve. How are you? I'm excited to have this conversation. We're going to have some golden nuggets come out of this. I just know
That's what we like. Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. So, I'm grateful that we connected because, like I said, the stuff that I've read and learned a little bit about you is really, not only fascinating, but so valuable. And there's, I just feel like there's so much value that you can add to my audience and those that are listening. So why don't you start by kind of just telling us a little bit about yourself, and then let's get into kind of your journey, your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show. So my name is Carrie Schmidt. I have been a single mom for about 15 years. My son's 15 years old. I've raised him on my own since he was born. I just launched a book yesterday. So
congrats.
Thank you so much. My new book called Behind the Screen, Uncover the Truth, Connect to Your Power, Passion, and Purpose is available on Amazon right now. So you go to Amazon.
Oh, that is great.
It's an incredible journey because it's taken me 4 years to get this story in the right format, if you will. I went through the editing phase, went through publishing and everything. And it's just, I can't believe I'm on the other end of this journey now. And in
fantastic.
my book, I share stories about my life, and I use my life to teach the readers how they can transform their lives, how they can connect to their power, their passion, and their purpose, because we are all seeking greater expansion of ourselves. And I believe that in our world today, we need to really let down our walls, open up, be more vulnerable, be more compassionate, show more love for each other, stop fighting.
Yep.
And my goal is this is my vision, I'll tell you.
Let's hear it.
Reach, teach, and transform over 1 million lives globally by helping to raise human consciousness and mental health awareness. Mental health it needs to be the conversation.
I agree 100%. And, I think there's so many people that, there's kind of like a bad stigma, I think, that people have around that. And it's so messed up that that's the way we often feel that about it, And I've said this on a prior podcast, but growing up, my dad used to say, well, why is it that we take so good care of our vehicles, and change the oil every 3,000 or 5,000, but why aren't we spending time to get a checkup from the neck up, is the words he would say, and so I think you're dead on. It's just so powerful.
He sounds like a smart man.
Well, I think he was.
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal. We all have a supercomputer in this head of ours. I call it a supercomputer because we don't know how to tap into its infinite and innate capacity. We use less than 5% of our brain's capacity, right?
Yep.
And so we all have thoughts and feelings and emotions that we go through in life. That is how we experience this physical reality, is through our 5 senses. But they don't teach us the power of our mind. They don't teach us.
They hide it.
They hide it.
Yep.
They don't teach us about our subconscious programming that we pick up as kids. And one of my mentors, Dr. Shafali, always says, we're just a bunch of children masquerading around as adults.
So true.
It is.
So
we
true.
have so much unsettled emotions, unprocessed emotions from past experiences. Everybody, because that's human
100%.
nature.
Yep.
And if they could teach emotional intelligence in school, just that, if they
It's
could teach
huge.
meditation, come on, guys, it's
It's huge.
2022. Teach meditation in school, please.
So true.
So I think that I went through my story and my struggles, and I knew I always had a greater purpose. I just couldn't tap into what it was. I just always felt this longing for more. And it wasn't until I kind of embarked on a spiritual journey and I started reading and listening to books, like reading and listening to Audible. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Breaking the
Joe's
Habit
phenomenal.
of Being Yourself.
Phenomenal. His story's incredible.
Life-changing.
That's what actually got me started when I heard his story, to kind of start
awesome.
learning more about that stuff. It's phenomenal.
And just let's just talk about that. Just somebody's story, somebody's message can change another person's life.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm trying to speak up. I just want to give me a stage, give me a platform, because I got a message to share that we have a power breathing us that is greater than any condition or circumstance. It's greater than any trauma we've been through. It's greater than any addiction, any time spent in misery and darkness. We have a power breathing us. And if we could tap into that power, it's inside of us.
Yep.
Stop looking on the outside. Stop looking to fill these voids that we have as people with external stimuli, drugs, alcohol, social media addiction, gambling addiction,
food, everything.
addictions, all of it. I mean, it's a way to fill a void.
Yep.
Even people will look for others to make them happy. No one is going to make you happy. You got to be happy here.
Yep.
But I didn't always know this, Steve.
Or things. Yeah, I hear you.
I didn't always know this.
That's 100% why I ended up using drugs. There's internal reasons that you have to figure out as an addict, regardless of what the addiction is to,
right?
To be able to realize what's truly happening so that you can fix that in order to get, clean and to rid yourself of that addiction.
Right.
Until you can find what that is and take care of that, you're just going to be fighting like hell, and continue to relapse or whatever, because there's an underlying reason to everything we do.
That's right. And it becomes a habit. Addiction is just
Amen.
a habit. And guess what? We're habitual people.
Yep.
And once we get in a comfort zone, once we feel comfortable doing something, this supercomputer here, the subconscious mind, keeps you going back to that.
That's right.
And you have to raise your level of consciousness in order to overcome any habits, any unconscious behavior patterns, self-sabotaging habits. We have to raise our level of consciousness.
That's I think there's a lot of that taking place, more so now than ever, whether it's, I think there's a lot of things going on in the world that are causing people to kind of wake up to what we have or what we don't have, and things that have been hidden. And I think it all does come down to consciousness. We've got to raise that consciousness as individuals and as a people. And I think early on you said it, the division and everything needs to be focused on love, because division is a tool and a weapon, to keep us from becoming, raising that consciousness and becoming who we truly are meant to be.
Absolutely.
Well, what was it that, was there something that, tell me more about your background, and then, what kind of triggered you to decide to go down that path for yourself, but then to also start to share the message with the world?
Yeah. So as a young girl, my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. So my sister and I split up. I lived with my mom. My sister lived with my dad. I had to change schools. So 8, 9 years old was a big transition for me. And then when I got into high school, I was kind of looking for my identity. I was kind of, that's what high schoolers are doing. They're looking for their independence and their identity. And I was in a new school, in a new high school. So I started hanging out with a group of friends, and they hung out with some boys, and I got, introduced into a group, and I started dating a man who we were in an interracial relationship. Okay. My family disowned me because of that.
Wow.
So I lost basically all my family. My father didn't talk to me, my sister, brother-in-law. The only person that really stood by me was my mom. Fast forward 9 years, I was in the relationship for 9 years.
Wow.
He cheated on me multiple times. I am really hard-headed for some reason, and I just keep going back for more. Come on, just break your head off a brick wall, Carrie, because that's what I seem to do in my life. Long story short, it was a very difficult relationship. I went through a lot of fighting. I went through a lot of judgment, criticism, internal judgment. I write about all of this in my book, Behind the Screen, because the screen is your lens of life. It's how you see yourself, how you see other people, and how you perceive other people see you.
Yep.
And also your environment. It is the veil of reality between our conscious and subconscious mind. It can be a dungeon of demise or a garden of greatness. Depends on your screen. Okay.
Right.
After that relationship was over, I went to college and partied a lot. And I just was a partier. I tell stories that I wouldn't tell anybody, and I still have a hard time speaking out loud. I mean, I write about it, but I can't believe that I share some of these stories behind the screen. You had to get the book to read more. Then I had my moment of awakening. I found out I was pregnant, and my son was born in 2005, and he's my angel baby. He changed my life. The first moment I held him, it was like a big light bulb turned on in my world. And I said, wow, I can do anything. I don't need anybody. I have this unconditional love, this life to care for. And he changed my life. God planted the seed in me.
Oh, yeah.
And he's 15 now. He's amazing. It was not easy. I raised him. I focused on my career and my son for the first 3 years of his life. I did nothing else. I started an entry-level position for a manufacturing company. It was aluminum can manufacturing. So all your aerosol, sunscreen, spray-on, we made it. I started in customer service, and over the course of 10 years, I climbed the corporate ladder. I went to CSR manager, to logistics manager, supply chain manager, continuous improvement manager, quality assurance manager, plant manager. Now, let me remind you, this is in Pittsburgh, Steel City area, all unionized facility, more than 300 union workers. I was the plant manager, excuse me. And then I had my second wake-up call in life. My dad passed away unexpectedly from pneumonia. That was a very difficult time. And when I got up off the hospital floor and had to leave the room that he's no longer in, I just realized how short life was. Tomorrow isn't promised to any one of us, yet we walk around and act like it is.
Right.
That changed my life. And I decided at that point in time that I was going to follow my dreams, and I was going to do everything that I was scared to do before. One of which was move out of the town that I'm from. I'm from the Pittsburgh area. I love Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm a Steelers fan. However, I do not like the gray skies and snow. For 6 months of your life, you hibernate.
Yep.
I always wanted to move south. So I got my company to relocate me, basically create a job for me. Huge success story. Moved to South Carolina. So I'm in the Charlotte, North Carolina, South Carolina area. I love the Carolinas. Blue sky, sunshine every single day. And then the plant that I left, they asked me to come back as the general manager. It was $100 million.
Relocate back?
Yeah, I went back. And here's why. Because to be a 35-year-old woman and have a P&L responsibility for $100 million manufacturing facility in an all male dominated industry is unheard of. There was only one other woman that was a general manager, and she was in China.
Wow.
So for me, that was a huge
I'll
accomplishment, a
say.
huge just wow. I came from nothing. And I write in my book, I went from a single mom on welfare to a general manager running $100 million company.
That's phenomenal.
And guess what? Hold on, I got to tell you this, because 3 months after I took over, we had record-breaking improvements in the company's history.
Really?
Still, they haven't been able to break the records when I was running it.
That is badass. That's cool.
So yeah, that's a really long story short. I got to the point where money and a title just wasn't, it just wasn't it. It was what I thought I wanted. So I just kept climbing that corporate ladder. You know, I want to make 100,000. I want to make this much. I want to have this title. And then I got there and I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't it.
Let me ask you a question before we move forward. I think I have a pretty good feel for what probably was the reason you had such an impact. But what is it, in your opinion, that made a difference when you were running things to set those records, and why they haven't been broken?
Empathy. The guys on the floor are the most valuable people.
Damn.
The guys that are operating that machine in the dust, in the hot 100-degree temperatures. I went out and stood next to them and I asked them questions and I watched, why is the machine down? All right, let me call maintenance. Let me call an engineer. Get over here, people. We're going to fix this machine for this guy who's struggling.
Well, I was going to say, it was the culture that you created based on the relationships you built.
Yes.
And that's exactly what my grandfather taught me. Yeah. That's everything, you know? Yeah.
I say there's a magic switch in manufacturing, and you can just click on that magic switch. And it's funny because those guys, I love them. They're like my family.
Exactly. Yep.
And they still respect me. They still reach out to me and they still talk about me because I cared.
Yeah.
I used to take the machines down and do blitz days. That's a preventative maintenance day for anybody in manufacturing. You know that it's really hard to take a 24/7 operation down.
Shut it down for that.
Yeah, but guess what? You have to.
The importance of that, because then you don't have a breakdown a day or two longer. Yeah.
You have to,
you know,
grease the bearings on the machine. So I would get up on, I remember one time we did a blitz day. I used to hang out with my maintenance guys because I was always out on the floor. Most general managers would be in their office.
And they would never really interact with them, you know, other than a problem, they'd go screaming about something, you know, typically.
Yep. I cared.
So powerful.
It is. And I love sharing that story. I'll tell you one really good takeaway. About 6 months into me being in that position, I talked our CEO into giving these guys a bonus for just the 6 months of how hard they worked. Okay. They hadn't had a bonus for like 3 months. And I went to fight for them with the president, the CEO. I mean, this is real deal Holyfield stuff.
Right.
I had a maintenance guy on midnight turn and he never liked me. He always gave me a hard time. There are some guys that gave me a really hard time and I just I told you, I will bang my head up off a brick wall. Well, he waited over his shift. He was on steady midnight turn. He waited until I got in the morning. And he told me, Carrie, I waited to stand here and tell you, and I want to shake your hand and personally thank you. He said, because I know what you went up against and I see how hard you're trying for us. And I really appreciate it. And
that's more valuable than anything.
I still get chills.
I was going to say that kind of stuff almost chokes me up, you know, because that's what it's about. It's about us treating each other like real people and, you know, respecting each other and caring, you know.
That's what it's about. I mean, it's not about the money. It's not, I mean, yes. Okay. In our world today,
we all need it.
That's the first thing everybody wants is the money, the fame, the title. You know how you get there is the power of connection, people, empathy.
Yep.
It's all about empathy.
Yep.
So let's change the world.
Oh yeah, no doubt. It is. It's 100%. I was telling you, I have one business where we just have a bunch of affiliates that sell through our company. And I just had a guy referred to me literally while I was at lunch. And so I said, I've got a podcast, so I can't talk to you, but I ended up calling him back to talk to him while I was driving back to the office. And And that's one thing that I've always built my businesses on is, and this is once again, goes back to my grandfather taught me,
That's awesome.
is culture and the relationship. And so it doesn't matter if someone gets referred to me that can bring me in $100,000 a month. That's not ever what makes my decision, because they have to be able to fit into the family. They have to be able to, be part of it, and if I have anybody, even if they're not necessarily a quote bad apple, but they just don't fit or don't have that same kind of, mindset, then I just don't bring them in, because that has always worked for me ever since I learned that.
I do a lot of workshops for organizations. So right now I'm a business consultant and a life coach. So I go into businesses and I talk about culture.
Yep.
And that's how you get real results. Real results comes from your culture. It comes from, gosh, I forget now. What's the R? Resiliency, empathy, awareness, leadership. And true leadership is leading by example.
Bam.
You lead by example. And the biggest thing you can do is just listen.
Exactly.
Listen. They got the answers if you just listen to them.
Yep.
That's what I learned.
Yep. And they'll literally go to war for you when they feel valued and understood,
Yes.
But if they don't, they'll go through the motions during a paycheck, but you can do what you did and have the results that you got because of who you were to them. That is just so, that's so powerful. Okay. So then you end up leaving. So
yes, I ended up leaving. I went out to LA and I studied under Mary Morrissey with the Brave Thinking Institute. It was the Life Mastery Institute before.
That's awesome.
I went through her Dream Builder coaching program myself.
Wow.
And then that changed my life. So then I enrolled in her coaching certification. I became a certified life mastery consultant. I started doing workshops. I started doing speaking engagements. I started coaching. And that, when I get to change somebody's life,
nothing better.
It's amazing. I have a client right now. I tell him, you're just the perfect student, because he gets it. And when you do the work, man, you can accomplish anything if you just do the work. See, most people allow fear, doubt, and worry to stop them, limit them, cut them off from their passion and purpose. But it's just an egoic illusion in your own mind. The fear, doubt, and worry, it's really not real. It's a product of your own mind.
Exactly. Yep.
So if you can learn how to override that and just take a baby step every single day, guys, you can do anything. And I've been doing it now for over a decade. I've been doing it.
So
cool. I
cool.
manifested my soulmate. I swear to God, I talked about him for 2 years. I would do a vision workshop for people, and I would always have them step into a time machine. So we would do a pretend meetup 3 years from now. And I'd say, okay, now you're going to speak into existence what you have dreamed. You speak your vision, right? And so I would use my example of my vision of meeting my soulmate, my best friend. And I detailed him all the way down to his hands. And we've been in a relationship for 2 years, and he showed up on my front porch to give me a quote to install skylights in my ceiling.
No way.
It works.
The one thing I can tell you is I buy that 100% because I've done it. And I know people who've done it. There's a guy, his name slips me right now. It'll come to me. He's incredibly successful, wealthy, huge developer. And he literally has a sketch of his future wife. And when you see a picture of her in that sketch, it is mind blowing.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, it does. And I went through the similar thing, with kind of a self-creation statement, I would say every day, after kind of some of the stuff I went through and kind of lost who I was and lost my confidence and was really struggling. And, I started that just about 5.5 years ago, and as of 2 years ago, everything but a couple of things have literally shown up in my life. Awesome. It's so powerful.
I tell my clients, and I say this all the time, I can, I will, I am. I can be interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. I will be interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. I am being interviewed by Oprah Winfrey.
That
I
is
will be
so
at her
awesome.
garden in Maui interviewing with her in 2023.
That is phenomenal.
And let me tell you something about the law of attraction
Mhm.
is you have to believe it with your whole mind, heart, and soul.
Exactly.
Because if you
So true.
don't, your own doubt just kills it in the
Yep.
universe. And then the other thing is the law of resonance. And this is what people don't understand is you have to resonate in the energy of that which you're trying to attract now. So you have to be the person that's being interviewed by Oprah now.
Yep.
You have to be the person that's going to go to Maui and sit in her garden right now. You have to
Yep.
resonate in that energy and believe it and exude it now so that it can happen, because the universe is infinitely expanding and abundant,
So
and
true.
you can do all of this stuff. And I just want to teach people that you can.
I love talking about this stuff because I've started to experience it, and it is incredible. Because I used to, when I first got exposed to the law of attraction, The Secret, and all that.
Yep.
You know, yeah, I would think of the stuff, but like you just nailed, and it's almost like you have to feel it, you know, and otherwise, you know, you really don't have the power that you need. And that's really the game changer, in my opinion.
It's energy, vibration, and frequency. Nikola
Everything.
Tesla, they all knew this back in the 1900s.
You're speaking my language so much you don't even know.
And here we are 122 years later, still trying to figure it out. They had it figured out. They were trying to show us
hiding for it from us for a century.
Amen. Yes.
It's coming.
Let's go. Let's shift the trajectory.
That's it.
We're going to raise human
and
consciousness.
It's up to us to do that, you know?
So, hey, listeners, if you're listening to this, please like, share all
Absolutely.
over the place, because just all we need is one person to hear the conversation and get interested. One person to pick up a book, listen to an Audible, listen to a podcast, whatever it is that can inspire you, empower you to really know and believe in your own heart that you can do anything.
That's right. That's so true.
And Steve and I are here to tell you that you can do anything, because we came from nothing to something and made something out of nothing.
Exactly.
Right.
And it is. It's just, that's where I usually start because of what I went through and then how I just was so stuck for so long. It was all right. Like you talked about, it's all right up here. And then once you realize that, how you can start to change it, you know, by some of the things you're talking about, you know, by reading, by studying, by learning other things, but really kind of trying to reprogram or rewire that brain, you know, and that subconscious is what it's all about. But that's what I think most people don't even realize, which is kind of sad once you get and start to see some of this stuff, that we are just energy, you know. And if you can understand that and realize, you know, I remember seeing, or about 20 years ago, we had a client that he's local, and my appraisal firm just started doing some appraisal work for him. And, you know, he's come on to become a multi-billionaire through a company's, you know, built and then sold. And, you know, prior to that happening, you know, we like 15, 18 years ago, I'd say, oh, you know, kind of call him the golden boy, if you will. Actually, it's probably 25 years ago. And, you know, as I look back on that years later, that had nothing to do with it. I mean, yes, he could be the golden boy, but he created that. It's not, you know, we look at people that have, or that, you know, are happy even, and we think that there's some luck or something, you know, or they were spoon fed or whatever. Mm-hmm. No, it's because of who they're being. Like you say, that power. Like I lost my power. I mean, I have no problem admitting it. And until you learn how to take that back, you know, you're going to stay stuck. So
I just did a speech at my book launch last night that I was sharing to over 100 people that came out to support me and my book.
That's cool.
About the stories that are in there, because these are all people that know me, but they don't know my stories. They don't know my truth.
Yeah.
And so I was telling them there's some real raw, uncut stuff in here. And I allowed my power to be taken away. And I said, I will never let anyone take my power away again. And I started to get teary-eyed. And then I started to cry, and I don't cry, but I was telling them how I built walls around my heart, like the mortar filled in the cracks of the darkness and the dungeon, and I was in a depression. I struggled with depression, anxiety. I thought about suicide. Like, there's so many things that I went through that I can reflect on now as an adult and see where I was and what made me kind of think that way, act that way. And it is all about awareness. And I teach a 7-step life timeline system of transformation in my book. What's your life timeline? It's from birth until today. Over the course of your life, you've experienced memories, emotions, all of these experiences shape who you are, because that is your subconscious mind. That's what stores all of your memories and emotions and regulates your body and operates your fight or flight nervous response, which we're wired to have. But unfortunately, in today's society, we're wired and it's not serving us, because we don't have to run away from a bear or protect ourselves like we used to in the caveman days. Now we just all run around stressed out all the time.
It's so true. It's so true and sad.
So it's time to wake up at the wheel of life, tag it, understand where I'm at now. And if I'm not happy where I'm at, tag it. Get conscious of this. Become more aware of why. Why am I not happy? What is not serving me in my life?
Yep.
What are some of my unconscious behavior patterns, so that you can then go back and overwrite your subconscious programming and then reprogram your mind and really take control of your life.
Yep. Yeah. What are some of the tools or things that you'd suggest to people listening to do that?
So start noticing your way of thinking. This in our mind, we think over 60,000 thoughts on a daily basis, and 80% of those thoughts are negative.
Yep.
95% of those thoughts are from the past. So basically, we recreate our past in our present. And when you start to notice this, you'll start to pay attention to it. For instance, when I started to apply this to my own level of thinking, I noticed that I was taking a shower one morning and I had literally been replaying a fight not a fight, but like kind of a disagreement with a coworker of mine from the previous day. And I was in the shower, literally thinking about the whole conversation again. My heart rate was increased. I was getting like anxiety until I noticed, oh my God, I just wasted 15 minutes of my morning recreating the stress from yesterday. So when you start to become aware of your thinking, you can start to tag it. That's my step
I love
one.
that. Never heard that. I love that. Tag it.
Tag it. Step one of the system. Tag your way of thinking. Okay, I just noticed that I'm stressing about this today, and the present moment is your gift of life. That's all we have, is this present moment. So if you can raise your awareness, start noticing your way of thinking in each present moment, you gain power. Do it for a week. I actually have on my website, I'm posting this week a free resource tool that you can download that helps you to print out and notice your way of thinking for at least a week. And then you're going to take it a step further. And then the next week, notice your thoughts and how they make you feel. Just those two things, thoughts, feelings, because that's what creates your actions or reactions. Most people are reactionary, and that's our unconscious behavior patterns. I get triggered, I flip out, I scream at my kids, I get pissed off in traffic, whatever it is.
Yep.
Those are things that you can start to tag, and then you can overcome.
I laugh because that used to be me, and I still find it occasionally, but like you said, the positive is I realize it these days. It's just like addiction. You're not going to be able to get sober until you realize you have an issue,
Nobody can force you.
Tag it. Yeah. Tag that. Then you all of a sudden realize what's going on. Then you can start to work on it. Yeah. So that is beautiful, man. So you started, you worked, got certified to coach and all that. And that was a decade ago?
No. So I started my business in 2019. So I've been doing life coaching, business consulting for my business, Infinite SOULutions. I put the soul.
I love that. I saw that today. All capital soul. That's
So I have big visions. I want to build a conscious connections community. I want people who
I'm
think
in. When
like
you
us.
do, I'm in.
Cool. I want people who to think like us to start this community, and we're just gonna go places through the power of connection, because that's what it's all about. I think everybody's out there to get for me, get for me, get for me. It's not
Yes.
for me.
No.
It's
Yeah.
for everybody. It's for
Exactly.
changing the world and spreading more love and light.
That's
And
it.
you
That is
have to
it.
bring light to the darkness.
Yep.
So if we can just shine more light in those dark areas, because I was there and I know what it feels like.
Oh yeah, me
So,
too.
yeah.
It sucks. But that's it. I think, it's just like when people see people that are successful or whatever, they're judgmental or, talk crap about them. That is so opposite of the way we should be, and that I try to be, because we are all in this together. So why not come together and help each other? Because life is so much easier, when you have help. And that was one of the things I really struggled on, even prior to my kind of crash and burn in '08, was pride got in my way. I was very successful, but that pride, there's the joke about, if you're lost and your wife asks you to stop and ask them for directions, us guys, we're not going to do that, but most people love to help people, so all you got to do is ask, and powerful people ask questions.
That's right.
Period.
That's why.
Yeah.
Get to the root of the problem. And that's why, to overcome your subconscious programming, you got to get to the root. When was the faulty program installed? And it usually is during childhood.
Yep.
And I can, read my book, because you'll learn more about your subconscious mind and why we are programmed as children, because we're in a different level of awareness. Our brain is in a theta brainwave frequency. The magic carpet is really a magic carpet to the kids, because they haven't been programmed to believe otherwise yet.
That's the key.
Right. And programmed.
A lot of it's intentional, in my opinion, because of the way society has been created intentionally, in my opinion.
You got to find a way to control 7 billion people on the planet.
Bingo. Yep. And that goes back to, not to go down a rabbit hole that we don't need to, but that goes back to the power we have, and us not even realizing it, like you've said, more and more people have, and it's being talked about way, way more these days, the last couple of years, than I've ever remembered. And possibly maybe that's because I'm just involved and paying attention, but there's something going on that's different. You can feel it, if you're paying attention, because people are waking up to our abilities, and
that's what we need.
What's been hidden. Absolutely.
We need that to change the trajectory
100%
of our planet and our future. And I think, there's always going to be light and dark, because that's duality, just like yin and yang. You can't have positive and there's positive and negative. It's electromagnetic. Everything in this planet is electromagnetic, all the way down to the way the earth is balanced in the solar system, into our own physical bodies, into nature. So if you just open up your eyes to realize that love is the way. That's all I got to say.
That is it. Yep. Well, this is awesome. Anything else that you want to share? How do you want to close this out? What was something?
I think we should have another one after this, because we have so much.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
No, I just, I'm grateful for the journey that I've been on. It's been a long, hard road. And I share the deep, dark stuff in my book, but I also teach you how you can overcome the darkness, how you can really take control at the wheel of your life. So if you're struggling, if your listeners are struggling and you're looking for something, the book is available on Amazon behind the screen. Carrie Schmidt. You can go to my website, carrie-schmidt.com, to learn more, look at ways to work with me. I have a supplemental coaching program that I offer in conjunction with the book.
Oh, cool.
So what's really cool is the book really is, I believe, transformational, and will teach you how to overcome your subconscious programming. It takes you through the 7 steps. In the back of the book, there's a life timeline journal. So I ask questions in each chapter to have you reflect upon what you learned. And then I offer a 12-week coaching program after the book to help you master your mindset and heal your soul, which takes you deeper
That's awesome.
on a personal journey into your issues. And as a certified coach, I help you overcome that. And there's a lot of stuff, past your program. It's strong. So it takes time to rewire. It's a system and you have to do it every single day. And I
Consistency is
still,
the key. Yep.
like before we got on recording, I said, I coach myself on a daily basis. I coach my own mind every single day. And then I remind my clients the same thing that I'm applying to myself and to my life. And it's easier when you have an accountability partner. It's easier when you have a coach
so powerful,
or a mentor or somebody to help you see it from a different perspective.
which is huge because, what we see, we can't address. So, well, that's great. I'll, of course, have all those links in the show notes. And, it's been my pleasure to have you. And yeah, if you're open to it, I'd love to have you back.
Yes.
So we can talk some more. Because this, truly, no matter what success in business, it all starts with yourself. We've got to really, if you got stuff going on in your mind, whether it's the lack of confidence, whether it's fear, you're just not going to go fulfill your potential and chase the dreams you probably had your whole life, and you're just such a shining example of that. It's just, I love it.
To go a little bit deeper, because what clicked for me is how I learned this is it's your vibration.
Yeah.
So you can vibrate high and you can vibrate low. The lower vibration is anger, jealousy, envy, fear. It's low, it's dense, it's heavy. But when you vibrate higher, you're lighter, you're more carefree, you're more open. It's so different. So it's all about your vibrational frequency. So if that can help plug a golden nugget into somebody's mind, because that helped me understand it. And I can tell when I'm vibrating high and when I'm vibrating low.
Me too.
Yeah.
That is the key, and it just goes back to, like I said, that guy would call it, the golden boy versus people I know who literally, they just feel like they always have bad luck and they're always down. And the highlight of their day is going to get their Coke in the morning or something, It's all that vibration they're keeping themselves in.
That's right.
So that is the golden nugget. So that is fantastic. But thanks for your time. I know you're very busy, and so thanks for taking a few minutes out. And we'll stay in touch for sure. I'm gonna get your book tonight. I'm gonna order it tonight. So cool. I'm excited to jump into that because I love learning about this stuff. It's so amazing, and we do have so much power and abilities that but we have to put in the effort, to work on it, to manifest it. So thanks for, what you've shared. And, this might sound corny, but I can feel your energy through the screen, honestly.
Oh,
you really can. So I appreciate that. Yeah, you're welcome.
That means a lot. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
We're going to do this again. This is
okay. Well, let's do it. We'll definitely talk soon. All right. Okay. Well, take care and have a great week.
Thank you.
Okay.